All right, today we're going to dive into a part of the internet that's absolutely fundamental, but most people have never even heard of it. It's called the session layer. And it's basically the invisible force that makes so much of our online life actually work. You know, from staying logged into your bank to having a video call that doesn't drop every 5 seconds. Let's get into it.
So let me ask you this. You ever log into your bank's website, right? You check your balance, you transfer some money, you look at your statements, and through all of those clicks, all those different pages loading, you never have to put your password in again. How does it know it's still you? What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, the answer is hidden deep inside the internet's architecture, in a layer that acts kind of like a dedicated middle manager for all of your digital conversations.
To really get what the session layer does, we have to look at the OSI model. It's this 7-layer framework that networking is built on. And we are zeroing in right here on layer 5. Now, its position is totally key. It's sitting right above the transport layer. That's the workhorse that actually gets data packets from A to B. And it's just below the presentation layer, which is what makes sure your apps can understand the data. This spot, right in the middle, lets it focus on one thing and one thing only: managing the conversation.
And honestly, this is the best way to think about it. The session layer isn't carrying your data. The layers below it do that heavy lifting. Instead, it's all about managing the dialogue. It's not in the conversation. It's the moderator making sure the whole thing is orderly and makes sense from start to finish. And that's brilliant, right? It lets the data transport specialists focus on just getting the data there reliably, while the session layer specializes in just managing the interaction itself.
So, if it's a moderator, what's on its to-do list? What does it actually do to manage these online conversations we're having all the time? Okay, so it has a few really crucial jobs. First, there's session management, which is the obvious one: starting, maintaining, and then cleanly ending a conversation. Then you've got synchronization, which is super important for keeping both sides on the same page. It's also in charge of dialogue control, deciding who gets to talk and when. In some cases, it can even handle authentication and authorization, making sure you are who you say you are. And maybe most importantly, it manages session recovery when things inevitably go wrong.
But before we go any further, what do we even mean by a session? Well, it's pretty simple. It's just the entire logical conversation between two apps. So the whole time you're logged into a website, that's one session. A video call from start to finish, that's another session. The session layer is the boss of that entire interaction, from the hello to the goodbye.
Now check this out. This is a perfect example of one of its jobs: dialogue control. The session layer gets to set the rules of engagement. Is this conversation going to be half duplex, where only one side can talk at a time? Think of a walkie-talkie. Over. Or is it full duplex, where everyone can talk at once, just like a normal phone call? The session layer makes that call based on what the applications actually need.
And this is a lifesaver. This is synchronization in action. The session layer can put little checkpoints into a long stream of data. So imagine you're downloading a massive file and your internet connection hiccups. Without this, you'd have to start all over again from zero. But with session synchronization, you can just pick up right from the last successful checkpoint. It is absolutely essential.
Now, it's really important to remember that this layer doesn't work on an island. It's in a very close partnership with the layer right underneath it, the transport layer. Let's see how they team up. This table makes the difference crystal clear. So, the transport layer, that's layer 4. It uses port numbers to get data to the right application's front door. For example, all secure web traffic is aimed at port 443. But once the data gets to that door, the session layer, layer 5, takes over. It manages the specific conversation, your unique login session, that's happening through that door. Here's a simple way to think about it. Layer 4 finds the right room in the building. Layer 5 moderates the actual meeting happening inside that room.
Okay, enough theory. Where do you actually see this invisible moderator doing its thing in your daily life? Well, the answer is pretty much everywhere you look online.
Let's circle all the way back to that first question. The reason you stay logged into your bank is because the session layer is working hard to maintain your unique login session. It's constantly telling the server, hey, this is the same user from the last page, our conversation is still active, don't make them log in again.
Or how about a video call? When you're on Zoom or Teams, that whole call is one long, continuous session. The session layer is the unsung hero in the background, making sure that connection stays stable for the entire call. It manages that complex, two-way flow of conversation and helps it recover from little network glitches without just dropping you completely.
And here's one more great example: remote desktop software. When you connect to another computer, you're starting a session. It's the session layer's job to keep that connection alive,
active and responsive, making sure all your commands feel like they are part of one continuous dialogue.
So after all this, you might be thinking, okay, I get it, it's there, but why does this invisible layer really, truly matter? What's the bottom line for you?
Well, the payoff is everything. It's huge. Without the session layer, the internet would be a nightmare. You'd have to log back into a website on every single page. Every single page. Your big downloads would start from scratch after the tiniest interruption. Your video calls would be a choppy, unstable mess. It is the silent workhorse that creates the stable, persistent, and smooth online world that we all just take for granted.
So the next time you're browsing a website or downloading a file or hopping on a video call, just remember, there's an invisible moderator behind the scenes managing everything. The entire modern internet is built on billions of simultaneous conversations, and now you know exactly who's keeping them all in order.